Welcome, everybody, back to America's Finest Sports. Today, we're going to be talking about the MLB. I think this is the first official only MLB episode, not including the Padres. But we're going to be talking about the MLB, going to be talking about a few different teams, actually quite a bit of American League talk. We're going to be talking about the Yankees, kind of where they've been at with their recent skid. I'm going to talk about the Tony La Russa news. Going to talk about the Cinderella story of the Baltimore Orioles, because I think that is a very, very intriguing one. And then finally, we'll wrap it up and we'll talk about, both leagues, and we'll talk about our overall MLB playoff predictions of who we think is going to make it into the playoffs. So with that said, let's get into the Yankees. As we know, they've been slumping quite a bit lately. So I got Maddox in the middle here and Ryan on the other side. Maddox, why don't you start off? What are you feeling about the state of the Yankees right now, post Joey Gallo trade?
Yeah, so the Yankees really thought that they had moved on from the curse of Joey Gallo. He was terrible with them, but they've just been really bad since they traded him. A lot of it is injuries. Sevy going down. He was one of their better pitchers at the time. He's out, as well as Nestor Cortez. They're probably second or third best guy, depending on how you want to look at it. He's out, 15-day IL. And again, Chapman out as well, 15-day IL. Michael King, Albert Abreu, Zach Britton, Chad Green. Those are all bullpen guys that have been out. It's tough to win when you have high quality players on the injured list. Clay Holmes, kind of the story of the first half. 0.45 ERA at one point, I think. But since then, it's just been getting lit up. We'll have to see if Chapman, when he comes back, if he'll be able to compete for that closer spot again. That's just the pitching side of things. On offense, Matt Carpenter is out. He, before getting injured, was very, very important to them, as well as a guy that they acquired and expected to be very good for their outfield defensively, Harrison Bader, out 60-day IL. It's tough. And, Stanton just came back. They were really thinking he was going to change things, but then they drop a series to the Angels. Angels are one of the worst teams right now. It's just tough to see the Yankees struggle this mightily after such a great first half. That's the good thing about getting a huge lead in the first half is if you choke a little bit, other teams have to claw their way up to catch you. They still have a 6.5 game lead. If some guys get healthy, they start playing better, they should be fine, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree. I'm not too worried about the Yankees coming back and winning some baseball games because, like you said, there's a lot of injuries, especially on the pitching side. Quick little story about how the Yankees kind of got into a worse position than they should be right now. I believe the plan for them at the trade deadline was they were going to move Jordan Montgomery for Harrison Bader and put him in center field, and then they were going to swing a trade for Pablo Lopez from Miami. And they were in kind of a bidding war with the Dodgers over Lopez, but I believe the Yankees had the upper edge, and they were holding off, trading, I think they got a few really good shortstop prospects. One of them just got called up, but they were holding them back from the Montas trade and some of the other deals they were talking about because they were going to get Pablo Lopez and have him be, the number 3 starter behind Cole and Frankie Montas. And they pulled off that Jordan Montgomery trade, and then at the very last second, Marlins ownership vetoed any trade involving Pablo Lopez and took every deal off the table. So that really screwed them over because obviously having a guy like Jordan Montgomery, how good he's been for the Cardinals, if he was on the Yankees, that's potentially 4 or so wins that they could easily get back from how well he's been performing over in St. Louis. But, I think, their bullpen's kind of out of whack right now. The offense is slumping at a bad time. I think it's just bad timing for everything. There's obviously a ton of talent on that team. They have the best hitter in baseball. So I think they just need to get some of those pitchers back, get Nestor Cortez back. I don't think Sevy's coming back, but, just get everything back to where it should be, especially in that bullpen. And I think there's going to be no issues for them going forward once that happens.
Yeah, and this is a team that, you usually look at the Yankees and the big reason that they're winning is just crazy slugging. You look at them, you say, okay, you got Judge, you got Stanton. Now Judge is obviously having a phenomenal year, but Stanton has not really had a great season, and he's been, I feel like, underwhelming more than not on the Yankees. But for this Yankees team this year, it's all about the starting pitching. Their starting pitching has been elite, and if you lose 3 of your 5 starters, you're not going to win games. Ryan and I are Padres fans. We saw the Padres season completely collapse last year because the exact same thing happened where they only had 1 to 3 starters for that whole second half of the season. So the good thing for the Yankees, and you guys brought this up, but when you have such a big lead on your division, and also not like their division isn't competitive, there's 3 teams that are vying for a playoff spot in it, but they do have a big gap. I mean, they're up 6 games right now, 6 or 6.5. I forgot what you said. But there's a month left of the season. I feel like if you would have asked Yankee fans, the trade deadline a couple months back, and you said, hey, you're going to be up 6 games here, they would be like, well, what happened? Because apparently our team just completely fell apart. So I do think there's reason to be concerned because you're kind of just waiting on guys to come back. But if Nestor Cortez comes back, and if Jordan Montgomery, is he back right now? I don't think he's on an IL technically, so I think he should be back soon, or at least
He is
should
on
be
the
back.
Cardinals right now.
Oh, who did I say? Servino, sorry.
Oh yeah,
he's not coming back, right?
Probably
No.
not.
Okay, but Cortez will. So at least you have Cortez. At least you have those 3. I don't know. I mean, I still have faith if they have their pitching, but that's been the backbone of their team this whole season. So you got probably the MVP. I don't know if he should be the MVP, but he's probably going to come home with the MVP. And the roster, the lineup's still good. I don't think there's bad. I know there's a couple guys that are getting ripped a ton. But I mean, overall, it's still not that bad. Rizzo's actually had a really good year. I probably wouldn't have expected Rizzo to be this good heading into the season just because he hasn't been that great in his past few seasons. But I still think that they're legit contenders. I just think it's one of those things where if you lose your pitching and they do not come back in time, you're not going to really have that great of a chance come playoff time. So it's literally all for them is just banking on guys coming back from injury. But anything else you guys want to add to the Yankees?
Yeah. Also, with this year's new playoff format, all they have to do is finish second in the AL, and they get a first-round bye. That gives an extra about 5 days, 5-6 days for guys to get healthy. That could be huge. So in that locker room, they're kind of looking forward to that, and that's something they're playing for. I think they're at 79 wins, and they basically just have to win their division to get that second spot because the Guardians are in first place in the Central with 68 wins, so they got 11 games there, and then of course the Astros are first in the West, and they're up about 5 games on the Yankees for the first seed. So looking good for them to have that first round bye, which could be prove fruitful for them to get some guys healthy.